Okay, so last time we looked at some cards and you analyzed them, and we had briefly mentioned that equipment and weapons were a thing and a part of deck building. So we're gonna go through some of those. I'm gonna show you real quick just a few first to give you an idea of what like the baselines would be. But just for your understanding, like best of one game, and I sit down across from my opponent, and we tell each other what our heroes are, and then we assemble our deck. So I have like my full 80 cards, and I'll go, I want these and these equipment pieces, and these cards, whatever. So starting looking at these, the Iron Rot set, this is like the most basic, like level 0 starter deck kind of equipment, just to give you an idea of how it works. So they have defense values on the bottom right, and that is basically what they are. They sit on the table, and your opponent sends an attack, and if you feel like using these instead of the cards in hand, you can block with these in addition to cards. And you'll see the keyword on it says Blade Break. There's a few different keywords, which is just how the armor degrades as it's being used. So Blade Break says when the combat chain closes, if this defended, destroy it. So you just block for one, and it just blocks for one, and then it breaks. There are some other keywords that make the armor last a little bit longer. So you've got head, chest, arms, and legs. There's also an offhand slot. This is almost entirely for the Guardian class. They're like the big shieldy tanky boys, and it's just another little bit of defensive value. So shields typically is how those look.
So Guardian equipment is what flags it as a Guardian card.
Correct. Only the Guardian class could play this one. That's right.
And are there like hero specific ones that are flagged the same way?
Yes, it will say hero and specialization. There are a few like that. Some of
them,
yeah, some are generic. A lot are just like class specific, but there are a few that are like only this one hero can play this. And then another little concept for you to be aware of before we start looking at the cards is we have like magic damage in this game. We call it arcane damage, and you can't block that with your block value, your defense cards, because that's only for physical defense. So how we get around that are there are two different effects to prevent arcane damage. The first one you'll see here. This is a generic set of equipment called the Null Rune set, and it has Arcane Barrier 1, which is just anytime you're dealt arcane damage, for each piece of Arcane Barrier 1 you have, you can pay a resource to prevent that damage on your whenever it's coming your way. So you would pitch the cards to pay for it instead of like blocking them. So is
everyone starting the game with like 4 or 5 pieces of equipment?
Yeah, everybody gets their 4 equipment slots, and then you have 2 weapon slots where you can either go one-hander and an offhand or a 2-handed weapon.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and then you're just choosing which equipment you want before you start the game. So
5 or 6.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
So if you're like a hero that has resources to pay, you can use this Null Rune set. If you don't want to pay resources, the other option is... Oh yeah, and here's the offhanded piece of Arcane Barrier, so you can put that in your offhand instead of a shield. You'll notice that's generic, so anybody could use that. And then, if you don't want to pay resources, Spell Void is the other anti-magic keyword, which just says instead of paying any resources, you just destroy the piece of equipment to prevent one. So it's like a free one-off, better for heroes that don't play a lot of blue cards or whatever. And then...
Yep.
You're not rating these, but I just wanted to show you a couple weapons from different classes to give you an idea of, like, common rates or what they might be trying to go for. So, a ninja here, it's a one-handed dagger. You pay 1 resource to attack, and if there's a 0-cost card in your pitch zone, which would be, like, what you pitch to give the resources, the dagger will get go again, which is how you keep attacks going. So, ninjas do, like, small attacks and like to go wide on the combat chain. This is a 2-handed Guardian weapon, so you see it costs more resources to attack, but can threaten more damage, so slower big swings. This is a Brute club, very similar to Guardian, but they're a little more aggressive, I suppose. So they're looking to like discard cards, do things. There are weapons that don't deal damage, so this is a Ranger bow, and it doesn't like attack by itself, but it will load arrows, which are Ranger-specific attacks, into your arsenal so that you can play them. Cool little flavor thing. There is Illusionists, which are kind of like our board state heroes, and they can make things that are on the board. And then this weapon, it doesn't attack, but it turns your Illusionist things into weapons, so it kind of like animates your stuff. And then just as an example for how arcane damage might look, here's like a wizard staff, just pay 2 resources, deal 2 arcane damage. So you couldn't block that. You would have to use the arcane barrier, or the spell void, or generic prevention effects.
Okay.
Have you looked much into Fab at all since our last video, or is this going to be about as fresh as can be? Both answers are equally exciting to me.
Slightly more than 0. I've been I believe a friend of yours or someone you make content, Summer, is that right? Yeah, I've been checking out some of her videos. It's been pretty useful in like a sort of tutorial, like here's a champion and here's a pattern and here's the whatever. It's like actually been pretty digestible, and the videos are like 7-8 minutes. So when those get posted, I've been checking them out.
Awesome. Yeah, well, if you have any like rules related questions as we go through these equipment, feel free to ask. But instead of like, it's hard to classify an equipment as bad because you can always find like, oh, there's this one niche scenario where it might be useful. So instead of saying like good or bad, let's say...
I actually do have a question for you before we get into it. So like for the, the first set that you showed me, like those starter decks.
Yeah.
Ones.
Iron Rod, yeah.
Yeah. So are those like, if I'm playing one of them, I have to play all 4, or can I mix and match?
Yeah, you can choose any head, leg, arm, or any of your 4 equipment pieces can be anything. They have one set called the Arcanite set, and there's 2 pieces so far, but they like interact with each other, kind of like an MMO set bonus, where it's like if you have 2 of these Arcanite things, they get more powerful. But for the most part, like all the equipment are standalone.
Yeah.
So
okay,
like,
cool.
if I was playing against like a split damage hero and I want like a little bit of physical defense, but I know they might send instances of 1 arcane damage, I can include 1 piece of null rune just to combat that.
And so how does this work on a deck building level? Like you have how many do you get to bring and choose to play at the start of the game?
You register 80 cards for the tournament. You have to present a minimum of 60 main deck cards to shuffle up. And then you present your equipment. So it'll be like sit down, and then it's like if I'm playing against like a really fatigue heavy deck, maybe I'll put more than 60 cards into my main deck just to survive fatigue a little longer, and then I'll choose my equipment based on whatever is best for the matchup. But typically folks will have like 1 or 2 different options per equipment slot in their like whole 80 cards.
Gotcha. But the ones that the equipment that I don't play, like these are never shuffled in a deck, right? This is just
at the start of the game, separate from the deck. Yep.
If I bring 8 pieces of equipment, I have my 5 or whatever, and the other 3 are just off to the side.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, a lot of people, myself included, because the equipment cards can be some of the more expensive cards. We like to put them in the slabs, and then it's really satisfying. You've just got like deck box with my deck, and then stack of plastic slabs for all of my equipment.
That's sweet.
It's like a little armory thing.
And when these are so some of these look like they have triggers where they go away after a certain amount of use. Do they interact with the graveyard at all, or are they just like they're just off to the side?
They do go into the graveyard. As of right now, there is 1 singular hero in the entire game that interacts with the graveyard in a random way. So if you're playing exactly that hero, probably put your equipment in you can either put it in like the same sleeves, or they do allow like proxies so that you can just like, here's representing the graveyard or the equipment in the graveyard type thing. But yeah, usually
so the base cases they're not really. Yeah, the base case is they're not really interacting that way, but there are edge cases where it comes up.
Correct. Yeah, like very, very limited. But for the most part, you'll just see people have their like stack of broken equipment slabs underneath their graveyard and they're on the playmat.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Sick. With that, do you think you got the chops to analyze a few of these?
Oh, I don't know about that, but I will give it the old college try.
It can only go better than the last time, I think. These will be a little more...
That's not true. I got some right.
You did get some. It was pretty good, too.
And it wasn't a 0.
And the ones you did get right, you were confident and you were very right. Like, count your blessings.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, all right. So with that, we're going to start with a famous one. Famous, by Flesh and Blood standards. A ubiquitous piece. This is Fyendal's Spring Tunic. So, Blade Break and 1 defense. It's going to block for 1 and then go away. But it says, at the start of your turn, if it has fewer than 3 energy counters, you can put an energy counter on it. And at instant speed, remove 3 energy counters to gain a resource. So effectively, every 3rd turn, you could get an extra resource.
So this is to clarify with the blade break.
Mm-hmm.
I have to opt in, right? Correct. I can go, all right, I'm going to block one with this thing.
Correct.
If I don't do that, then there's no risk of blade breaking.
Correct. Some heroes do have attacks that will say, like, the defending hero must defend with equipment, stuff like that. But by and large, it is your choice to decide to block with the equipment. Yeah. So, like, with this one, usually it would be, like, towards the end of the game if you've been able to get some resources or whatever.
This seems very strong to me.
In just the resource part, or what's the
generic part, the resource part, the fact that the defense is opt-in, and the fact that you can. Oh, okay. It is capped. It is bound to one, right?
Yeah, you can't go to more than 3 energy counters, so you can only ever bank one resource at a time.
Yeah, I'm guessing this is very good.
Yeah, I'm not even going to bullshit you. It's just, like, this is from the first set, and this is, like, perhaps the best generic piece of equipment ever in the game. It's, like, so perfectly balanced. It's not, like, doing anything horrendous, but it's just, like, makes for very good mid-range gameplay. And, yeah, a lot of, like, heroes would rather use this than their class-specific chess piece.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It just seems... Based on the ones that you showed, this one is just sort of passively accruing quite a bit of value, and once you are at, if you get to the stage of the game where it's no longer useful, you still have the same out of blocking with it like you do with anything else.
Yep, and that's usually how it plays out. Is like you'll use the counter on it, and then you'll go like, all right, I don't believe there are going to be 3 more turns in this game, so I'll just get the block where I can. Yep. Very good. So I was going to mention when giving your analysis, it's hard to call any of these bad because there's always like a small use case. So we can say like niche or like very narrow if we don't think they're like outright bad, or if you think it's good. If there are any banned equipment pieces, they will be on this list. So feel free to guess if you think anything is banned. Because if there is anything that's banned, it would appear here.
The real question of with this card is comparing it to every other generic chess piece, right?
Yep.
That's actually the opportunity cost is the chess pieces you could otherwise be playing.
Correct. And like just based on what you saw from the Iron Rot one, this is just that with massive upside. So yeah, pretty damn good.
I assume that the Iron Rot one, I mean even the art seemed like it was sort of conveying like
do better.
This is not supposed to be particularly good, right? Yeah.
Very much.
No, I like that. I actually think it helps like this is rusty, shitty gear, and you can use it, I guess, when you're starting on your adventure, but you should be trying to find something better. It's cool.
Like this beautiful green dress. Yeah, the flavor one with the equipment is part of what's got me, like, so hooked. It feels so cool. All right, you nailed the first one. Already off to a great start. Next, we've got Snapdragon Scalers. Another generic. You'll notice these do not block for anything, so they don't have any keyword like that. And it just says attack reaction, destroy this, target attack action card with cost 1 or less gets go again. Now, are you familiar with reactions?
I have an intuitive guess of what it means. I don't. Yeah.
It's basically the instant speed stuff, but just for your knowledge, the way the phasing works is after I attack, it goes attacks and then blocks, where you would lay down your blocking cards. And after that, we move to the reaction phase, where I can do reaction things, which is like this, or there are cards that, you know, giant growth type effects, and then there are also defensive reactions.
I will guess that this is banned.
Ooh, interesting. Talk to me.
This seems like potentially a really intense thing to have as a like 0 mana, always active trick. It's going to scale in weird ways with parts of the card pool that you don't really intend. Like even if like this is the type of card that reads to me like even if you put this in your second set, let's say, and it's fine with that collection of cards. By the time you get to set 7, you're going to have a much wider array of things that overlap with this. And because the opportunity cost, like in general, is just kind of low with this stuff, things that are niche but extremely powerful in their spots might be much harder to balance as a face-up card rather than a card that you put in your deck and then you have to weigh the opportunity cost of drawing it when it's bad sometimes.
Mm-hmm. I mean, pretty sound analysis. Not banned, but very strong and basically for the reasons you're talking about. If there is a low to the ground aggro deck in the format that has like a powerful 0 cost attack with like a good on-hit effect. Usually they would end their turn with that because it threatens the on-hit. Hopefully the blocks have done whatever. But with this card, like, you could start your attack chain with that, make blocking really difficult for the opponent, or just like unbrick a hand if you didn't have any natural sources of go again. It's like your one get out of jail free card. The big balancing act, I think, is the 0 block value is a pretty big hit against it, because there are some class-specific versions of this effect that do have block value, so that keeps it pretty balanced, I would say, but it is still like, when the deck exists that wants this card, it is like the exact card it wants.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I believe it was second set, and still just like one of the best boots in the game, so not bad.
But you're saying that it's balanced around the fact that there's a lot of this, but slightly better on the class/champion level?
Yeah, like maybe slightly more hoops to jump through, but the classes that are using them can usually get around it, and then just having any amount of defense value makes it like not strictly better, but like close enough where like people would rather play the mini game and get an extra block value versus like Snapdragons is totally free, but you might just like die.
Yeah.
It's close though. Alright, we're going to look at a weapon next, and this is a Runeblade weapon. This is Scepter of Pain. It is a one-hander with a once per turn action of paying 2 resources, deal 1 arcane damage to any opposing target, and create a Runechant token for each damage dealt this way. I have a picture of Runechant tokens somewhere later on, but it is just a token that when you attack, it will break and deal 1 arcane damage, and you can stack them.
I'll guess this is banned. I'm gonna guess that this is. I'm gonna guess, not knowing the card pool super well. I'm going to guess when I read a text box that says deal 1 damage, and then create a scaling output for each damage dealt this way, the designers cannot help themselves with making a bunch of +1 arcane damage, and this goes off the rails.
It's so absurd. How right you like. Yeah, so this card was around for quite a long time. Never did anything. Never hurt anybody. In the same set as a certain card you've heard of called Counter Blessings.
Yes.
There was a mechanic called Amp. And Amp probably should have been Wizard specific, but it's not.
Okay.
And there's a card that you can play, and it says at the beginning of every turn, Amp 3. So the next time you would deal arcane damage, it deals +3. Also noting, this card, Scepter of Pain, it's not attacking. It's just dealing an arcane damage. So your Runechants, they usually pop when you send an attack. So it'll be like, here's my 3 Runechants, and then the attack. We're not sending attacks. So what this turned into is a deck that was all defense, and grind and grind and grind, and every turn you would just activate your Scepter, make a Runechant, and then eventually, 45 minutes later, you would have like 50 Runechant tokens, and you would send your 1 attack in the deck for 50 arcane plus physical.
I can tell when someone's shit stinks, and one of the giveaways for me is do 1 of something and then scaling output for each. What do you mean? You wrote 1 on there. Okay, so deal 2 and do something for each damage out. Okay, there's damage prevention in the game. Maybe sometimes it goes the other way, right? When it's 1 and scaling output,
And so that's exactly the thing.
Look up a team that cannot help themselves.
We looked at Arcane Barrier earlier, and that's exactly where it comes up, is against a Runeblade, their Runechant tokens are dealing an instance of 1 arcane. So you're like, okay, I just need my AB1, my 1 piece of Arcane Barrier. But when they're sending an amped 4 arcane, suddenly it doesn't matter that I have 1 prevention, because 3 is getting through every time. And so it even made the like pre-game like select your equipment was a nightmare, because the opponent would be like, I'm playing this here, and you're like, okay, are you gonna just like stack combo me, or are you gonna play a normal game? And it was a nightmare. So
quick thing about the rules.
Yeah.
So you and I sit down, we each have a champion. Okay.
Yeah.
At that point, do we each go into our boxes, grab whatever equipment we have, put everything face down, and there's one big reveal, or is there like a back and forth? Like,
it's one.
This
big
is
reveal.
my sword.
Yep.
Okay, these are my leggings.
No, yeah,
it's just all
at
one
once.
shot.
Yep.
We know. Okay,
you sit down, you determine turn order, which is also like you might bring in different things depending on if you're going first or second. And then, yeah, everybody's like, all right, ready? And then everybody reveals everything and you go, fuck.
Gotcha. Okay.
Hell yeah. Yeah, so you nailed it. Scepter of Pain, terrible. Get it out of here. Nobody wants this.
Yeah.
Here's Rock. Rock is a brute weapon with 7 power and a once per turn action of attacking for 3 resources. You can only activate it if you have no cards in your hand, and damage that would be dealt by Rock can't be prevented, which does not mean blocked. You can still block it, just no prevention effects.
I'm gonna guess this is weak because it feels like a lot of the combat is oriented around being able to play like kind of efficiently and like being able to respond efficiently to what your opponent's doing, and there's that like tactical back and forth. And I'm guessing having only attack if you have no cards in hand is like a pretty big bottleneck on being able to play that sort of the back and forth game efficiently, in a way where like just something that's always available would be more readily useful, and also that this has like a relatively steep attack cost.
Yep. Yeah, basically everything you said. And I'm going to get crucified a little bit because they just released a new hero who is basically like very much trying to make this weapon work, and it's still not working.
Yeah, I mean, this has really extreme characteristics, right? And so there's got to be design space that you can mine that like, yeah, I could imagine designing a champion that would be in the market for this sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
But just sort of at a baseline, I would guess it's not particularly good.
Yep, they're trying, but they have not quite gotten there yet, unfortunately. But I love the design of him. I want to get a Rock tattoo, honestly. He just looks really funny to me. With the bloody base.
It's a charming design.
But not quite strong
Very
enough.
charming design.
All right, next up we've got a chest piece. This is Dyadic Carapace. So it has Arcane Barrier 2. So on this one piece you can pay 2 per arcane damage to prevent 2 of it. And then Temper is different than Blade Break. It says when the chain closes, if it defended, put a -1 counter on it. Then if it has 0, destroy it. So 2 block value here means the first time you'll block for 2, it gets a -1 counter. And then if you block with it again, it would block for 1 and then destroy.
I'm going to guess very good, not banned.
Yeah, this doesn't need too much of a description. I think without the abilities, without any like active abilities, it's just like a pile of rate, and for that reason, like, yeah. When it comes to deck building restrictions, like, yeah, and it's good against the arcane and the physical, like Runeblade. Runeblade equipment's usually really good for that reason. But like, imagine if I was, chumped for slots in my sideboard, and like this takes up 2 arcane barrier slots and is pretty good physical defense. So yeah, this is just
it just looks like nothing super proactive or problematic about it, but pretty solid, flexible defensive numbers relative to what I've seen so far. I'm doing pretty damn good on these.
Yeah, I'm feeling confident for you.
I'm feeling pretty damn good about these. Okay.
All right, let us move on to the next one because I think you're damn near perfect record here. Here's Stubby Hammerers. So this is another 0 block. This is generic arms with an action. Destroy Stubby Hammerers. Attack action cards with 3 or less base power. Get +1 attack while attacking this turn.
Man.
Why would you so confidently assume this is banned?
I just think I have a suspicion that the 0 mana on board go again stuff that synergizes with not a small part of the card pool ends up being really repetitive and problematic. Even if they aren't necessarily the strongest cards in the game, they are on top of it in a way that is not desirable.
Yeah, they released a hero a few sets ago.
How'd I do, by the way? How'd I do?
They had to pre-ban this card before... Yeah, you did pretty damn good.
Is my answer still right? I would not have guessed ban before release.
No, I'm 100% counting that. So the card existed, and then they teased a hero card, and then before the hero came out, they went, shit, this is going to be too good. They made a hero, and he's a ninja, so he's already going pretty wide, doing a lot of 0 cost attacks that would get buffed by this, but he also has the hero ability of, at the start of the game, you just get an extra 61st card, and it's a 0-cost attack, and you just put it in your graveyard, and you get to recur it every turn.
Good stuff.
Stubby's
even without that context, I would have bet on banned.
Yeah. It's it was just like, and it's a common, like it's too damn good. It was nobody should get that much offensive value out of their arms piece. So yeah, Stubby's, I didn't even get to play with it. Stubby's had to go. You nailed it. Here is another ninja piece. This is Blazen Yoroi. While it is defending on chain link 4 or higher, so if there's 4 or more attacks that have happened in sequence, it gets plus 4 defense value. So it'll either blade break for 1 or for 5.
I will guess that this is weak. I don't know. It feels like the pieces that you've shown seem like they have a lot more like ROI over the course of a long game and a lot more flexibility than this. This reads like it probably has discrete moments of being quite good, but largely is, you know, a one and done that is kind of situational, or at least situation specific. And a lot of the pieces seem a lot more just sort of generically always on, always doing something useful.
Yep, that pretty much nails it. One of my friends was trying to tell me that there's a very specific matchup where this card is good, but I'm skeptical. And for exactly what you're talking about. Like, you have to do so much to make this happen, and if you're not, it's literally just the Iron Rot chess piece, so not very exciting. Ironically, they said it was good against Phi, who is the ninja that was using that broken Stubby Hammerers piece from the last card. So you can see how it's all lining up here. Here's another staff.
Is it one of those we have? Is that one of those we have an answer coming in the next set?
Exactly that, right? Oh, you thought that Stubby's was too good. Don't you worry. When this chess piece comes out, it's all over.
Turns out that it got solved before the actual first set came out, because we banned it before it got to street.
The solution was never doing it in the first place. All right, now we're moving on to a wizard staff. This is Waning Moon. So once per turn instant to play 2 resources. If it's your turn and you've played a non-attack action card, you can deal 2 damage to the opponent. But if it's their turn and you've played a non-attack action card, you deal 3 arcane damage to the opponent.
This looks like such a piece of shit. I'm gonna guess this is banned.
What don't you like about Waning Moon?
This is a really powerful defensive control piece. Now the deck building cost is you have to put a bunch of other defensive jerk off do nothing shit in your deck, and then you get this really busted defensive thing. Repeat terminate. If you sit around with your thumb up your ass, you get a removal spell every turn. So it doesn't look great to me.
In its best iteration, you nailed it. It's still really good. It's not banned. When this card was at its peak, it's because there was a control-ish deck in the format that let you play cards on your opponent's turn, and so you got to get the 3 value like every turn cycle. These days, and it's partially just because wizards are so hard to balance that there have been some other cards that maybe aren't playable. It's just really hard to balance wizard cards, I guess. So this is still like one of, if not the most used wizard staff, just because like an instant way to deal even just 2 arcane damage is pretty damn good when you can do it every turn. So it's like not even being used to the full effect, but it is still very good.
So my ask, since we're slightly over time, give me 1 minute so I can put on a cup of coffee.
Yes, absolutely. I appreciate you.
You can keep talking, or you can pause, whatever you want to do.
I can do whatever I want to do. I'm going to talk shit about the resleevel. I'm just kidding. I never won a pack in a raffle, but I do have my signed plains and mountains somewhere over there. I should fill my water bottle.
You're saying you never won a pack?
Perfect timing. Look at that.
You said you never won a pack? You're talking about you never won a pack?
with the set raffles.
Yeah, give me your address. I'll send you the Gen Con thing I got.
No shit.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, just text me your address. I'll get it in the mail the next time I'm making a run.
That's crazy. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, you got your coffee on?
Yeah, I'm in my hotel room, so I got a little Keurig thing over here.
Cool. We've got like 7
It's not my preference.
more. All right, so the staff, it was good. It's not banned, but it is definitely fucking obnoxious. And that's coming from someone who's registering it at their tournament tomorrow, so I'm the problem. Here's another ninja dagger. This is Zephyr Needle. 1 resource to attack with go again for 2 instead of 1 like the basic one. But if it's defended by a card with a greater block value than its attack power, you destroy it when the combat chain closes. So these are above rate.
This is fucking busted. This is fucking busted, right?
Why would you think?
Well, hold on,
busted?
back up. Can I? So if I'm defending, right? Yeah. Can I go? All right, I'll defend with my legs and my chest and my offhand or whatever, and that's the total sum, or is it each one individually? Is that
1 card has to go over? Yep.
So it's 1 card has to go over.
Correct. You can block with more, but you would. So if it's attacking for 2, you would have to block with a singular card that has a 3 block value or higher.
And that's assuming I'm doing nothing to pump this.
Correct.
Yeah, this seems really, really good.
This is another one. This is another one of the banned ones.
Yeah.
What you're saying is already very true, and sometimes there are heroes that just like don't even play enough attacks to profitably block this. But would you be shocked if I told you that they printed another mechanic that perhaps broke this? In 2 sets ago, they released a mechanic called...
does it have some shit where like you go infinite or close to infinite if it's once per turn? Did they do some shit where it's like you can play your once per turn actions twice a turn?
Not quite. Well, some of those exist, but that wasn't the problem here.
Okay.
The problem here was they made a mechanic called Retrieve, which tacked onto a card would let you pay a resource to get a dagger back from your graveyard, which was
awesome.
Not supposed to interact with Zephyr Needles. This was another... They banned this before the set came out that had that mechanic because the it was all over the internet, like not even just internal testing, but everyone was like freaking out like this deck is going to break the format in half, and there was a big tournament coming up, so it got pre-banned in the standard format, and actually in the ban list that just limited Count Your Blessings, they banned Zephyr Needles because even in the eternal format it's just like way too fucking good.
Well, this like actually scales up as the card pool gets larger, right?
Absolutely.
There's some cards where it's just like, well, you make a lot of competition for this sort of stuff, so over time, it's less and less part of the eternal card pools. Like in Magic terms, just think of like any good 4-mana creature. It's like even if they're good in standard,
right?
Like there's so many of them that like, what's the odds this is the best of the 50 that exist?
Yeah, nobody's talking about like Rekindling Phoenix or Hero of Bladehold anymore.
Run. Oh. Yeah, exactly. It's just like first of all, the format gets more hostile to that kind of stuff in the first place. And then 2, even if the format isn't that hostile to it at a baseline, there's 50 of them to choose from. So what are the odds any given one is the best one? There's other stuff like this shit that actually scales up as the card pool gets larger because there's going to be more things that intersect with its various characteristics. And because people's patterns are likely to get more more proactive, that's the thing to be doing, that the people playing with just like large chunky defense values is unlikely to be part of the range.
Zephyr Needle is less like Thrun the Last Troll and more like Underworld Breach, where it is in fact the problem, and printing around it is only going to make things harder. So
what does putting around it even look like?
It doesn't. It looks like banning it. Here is an Earth Ice Guardian equipment piece, Gauntlets of the Boreal Domain. So you have Temper, so it can block for 2, and then for 1, then it goes away. And the once per turn action is for 2 resources. If an Earth card is pitched among the 2 resources, there's a specific attack card called Mangle. So if you pitch an Earth card when you activate this, it gets +2, and if you pitch an Ice card, it gets Dominate, which means you cannot block with it with more than 1 card from your hand. And then that has go again. So you have like a buff on a very specific attack card, and then besides that, you've got Ice, Earth, Temper 2, Arm Piece.
Are there cards that are tagged both Earth and Ice?
Yes. Yep. There's a hero who's got both talents, and some of his attacks and stuff have both of those elemental talents as well.
Banned. I'm guessing that they really leaned into whatever the fuck Mangle is to make this nightmarish.
They definitely tried to, and ironically, that is the least important part of this card.
Interesting.
Card's very good. The Ice Earth Guardians, if they exist, they will be playing this. And they do play Mangle for the most part. It's like a pretty good attack. It's got like a reasonable on hit. The tricky good thing about this It's got Earth and Ice in the type line, and we mentioned that equipment goes to the graveyard when it's destroyed. I showed you a card last episode with the Decompose mechanic, where you could banish Earth cards from your graveyard to get a bonus effect. So this is just a free Earth card in your graveyard to necessitate your other stupid Earth shit.
That answer makes me really sad. I was hoping there was something cool going on with Mangle and not just like this is card type arbitrage or something that costs 0 mana and just naturally attritions into your graveyard.
There's like Timmy level cool stuff going on with the Mangle keyword, but unfortunately the best part is that it exists with the type line. Oh, so sad. But it's pretty good. Just not banned.
Okay.
Here's Crown of Seeds. 0 block. This is an Earth headpiece, and it has a once per turn instant to pay a resource. Put a face down card from your arsenal, which is that bonus card zone, on the bottom of your deck. Draw a card and prevent the next 1 damage that would be dealt to your hero this turn.
So walk me through the arsenal rules again. It's basically you get to... Sorry, go for it.
Yeah, at the end of my turn, I can choose to take 1 card from my hand, and ideally I'll only have 1 card left. Put it into my arsenal zone, which is just a face down spot on the playmat, and then I draw back up. So if you have a card in your arsenal, it serves as a 5th card in your hand, but you can't block with it or pitch with it because it's not in your hand, it's in the arsenal, but you can play it. So it's just 1 extra card that you can play throughout the turn.
I guess this is banned. 0 mana looting, sequences that involve, like, given the arsenal rules, I'm assuming it's not trivial to have a hand size that is greater than the 4 that you have, and the type of interactions that open up once you're talking about 5 card hands every single turn. I don't know. This looks like some Ponder preordained type of shit to me, but it starts the game in play.
Yeah, it is. If ever there was a headpiece or a piece of equipment that restricted design space in Flesh and Blood, this has got to be like top contender. Yeah, just like way too ubiquitous. If ever there's a way to utilize the other resources on your opponent's turn, so like let's say I pitched a blue card, pay 1 for this ability, and then I've got 2 floating resources. Funny enough, do you remember Count Your Blessings? That cost 2 resources.
I do remember it.
Before they banned it, the best deck in the format was basically just pay 1 to do the Crown of Seeds thing and then play Count Your Blessings. It was so incredibly fucking unfun. I cannot describe to you. This is a Runeblade weapon. This is Rosetta Thorn. Once per turn action, pay a resource to attack for 2, and it says, when you attack with it, if you've played an attack action card and a non-attack action card this turn, deal 2 arcane damage to target hero.
I'm going to guess this is weak. Two-handed is already, that's the opportunity cost of not getting an offhand, so you have that's like a pretty big hurdle to get over. And then there's just, this looks like it's parlaying a lot of different deck building costs and situational nature of output.
Yeah. Perhaps if you were more plugged into what some of the decks look like, it would be more obvious. This is contending for the strongest weapon in the history of the game.
Really? Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
So Runeblades, typically, they have a pretty close split of attack actions and non-attack actions. So they'll play things that say, like, your next thing gets +3, or create a rune chant and to go again, or all this and that. Pretty easy for them to be able to attack with this every turn. And we looked at, like, the 2-handed Guardian Hammer from before, where it's 3 resources to attack for 4. Whereas this, if you turn it on, 1 resource, and it's 4, but it's split damage, 2 arcane and 2 physical. So, like, to prevent all of it, at a minimum, will always require 2 cards, because you'll always have to do arcane barrier and block the physical damage. So, over the long games, like, getting pinged down because you can't keep throwing 2 cards in front of just their weapon is, like, it's insane.
This is a cool design. That's sweet.
It. Yeah,
that's a really cool design.
I never got to play with it in the Classic Constructed, but the deck that I play in the Eternal format uses this as the weapon, and it is, like, so satisfying to be like, okay, I just turned it on, and now I can get 2 and 2. It's awesome.
Yeah, so, like, the sort of, like, I guess, top-level critique of, like, the Flesh and Blood cards I've seen so far, at least the ones that are, like, pointed towards Tier 1 or that you tell me are part of Tier 1 and have been banned, there is a lot of it feels like there is a lot of reward you for doing the same thing over and over again, which I understand is that is the nature of games that have champions. Of like, you have this sort of slice of the card pool that's yours, and you know there's only so many ways to mix and match. This looks like kind of the opposite of, yeah, here's like kind of a spread of stuff going on. It's giving you a spread of outputs that interact with your opponents in like different ways depending on how much they value the damage prevention versus chopping things up. Like this looks like a cool thing to be good.
Yes, I agree with that, because yeah, it's like it requires a certain amount of cards to work anyway, so I have to make liberal blocking decisions if I want to turn it on, if I have to just send it for 2 physical without the +2 arcane. Like there's a lot of very interesting decisions, so I'm glad that
this looks like a very cool design.
2 more for you, and we're going to start with Carrion Husk. So this is a 6-block chess piece, and it's got the Shadow talent. And if you defend with it, you banish it when the chain closes. And at the start of your turn, if you have 13 or less life, you banish this. So if you don't block with it before then, it's just gone. And then it has the Blood Debt mechanic, which is a Shadow thing, where you lose a life at the end of turn for each Blood Debt card in your banish zone.
I'm going to guess that this is actually... I'm going to guess that there's something busted going on here with the act of paying, losing life.
Interesting. Not quite, but this card is excellent. The Blood Debt is like certainly a downside. All of the Shadow heroes have various ways to try and mitigate it, either by like turning it off for the turn or getting the cards out of banish zone. So that part's usually just downside. The card is legal in Classic Constructed, but it is banned in Living Legend, because one of the Shadow Living Legend heroes is possibly the best hero ever in the history of the game, and it's really hard for them to balance him, so one of their more recent passes has seen this card get banned in that format just to try and open up the aggro decks a little more to be able to combat him, because being able to just throw a 6-block on a chess piece without having to commit any cards is very good at taking tempo. So because like it's just like it doesn't even matter what they do. There's like 6 power attacks with disruption is a very common thing in the game, and so being able to just stuff that for absolutely no reason is very strong.
You have on board win a combat.
Yeah, it feels very time
There's nothing for your opponent to do other than plow through it at some point. Yeah,
exactly. And like it is fun with the mini game of like, especially when you're getting pinged down from Blood Debt, like okay, if you as the opponent can make it so that they don't have a profitable block before they get to 13, it's like then they have to cash it in for not as much. So I think it's another like really fun design that makes some pretty cool gameplay. So
yeah, no, I can imagine there's a good game here. But I can also imagine there's
a particular subset of circumstances where it is not a good game piece. All right, we have one singular more. I think you did pretty damn good this round. Let's see if you can close it out strongly. Here is our last one for the day. Check out Kraken's Aethervein. This is a once per turn instant 2-handed wizard staff. 3 resources. Deal 1 arcane damage to target opposing hero. Draw a card for each arcane damage dealt this way.
And deal 1 for each done this way. What do you mean? It says the number 1 on it. What other number could it be? Oh, have you seen some other cards that like make this scale in a way that's like exponential because it's scaling on 2 axes?
Oh, yeah.
How'd I do?
We have one of our older videos. I covered a tournament that you mentioned Summer, actually. She died in the semifinals of a Living Legend Pro Quest to a combo involving this card, which is now unplayable in every single constructed format. We mentioned
as in banned.
As in banned. You are not allowed to play this card because it is so goddamn broken. I mentioned the amp keyword to you before, the one that buffs your arcane spells. Well, they released a card for the Earth Heroes that says amp equal to the amount of life you've gained this turn.
Oh, God.
So a combo deck came out that
amped
a bunch.
Right?
You don't even need that. You had just whatever incidental life gain, and then your rampant growth. This would attack for like 30-ish arcane, and you draw your 30-something cards. And then we have an attack card called Fire Breathing, which, paying homage to Magic the Gathering, it attacks for 3, and then at instant speed you can pay a resource to buff it. Well, when you have a handful of 30-something cards, and a lot of them are blues, and then there was also a card called Flourish that said if an attack would gain power, it gains that much +1. So in the specific tournament on coverage, they attacked for 159 damage with one attack.
Yeah, that sounds, yeah.
And that was the fault of Kraken's Aethervein.
Deal 1 damage, and for each is like, I know
you've cracked the code. There's something wrong
fucking
there.
so fucking bad is going on there.
Oh, that's excellent. I think you maybe got all of them right this time?
No, I would say that I whiffed on the Carrion. I underestimated that one.
Oh, sure.
And I think my hit rate was pretty good here.
Yeah,
it depends how strictly you want to grade me on very strong versus banned, because I think there was a few where like I called one and it was the other, but whatever.
It was close. On the whole, though, it seems like you're really getting a read for how to analyze power in this game. So after this one, what are your designer thoughts after seeing what equipment and weapons are and how those function within the game?
So it's a really fraught space, obviously, because it's just face up and it's there for the whole game. The designs that are either there's some natural out to them going away, or the reward is do sort of a blend of stuff, seem to me to be quite fun. Mm-hmm. The ones that look the most egregious are just leaning into the fact that it's like, do the same game action over and over again, and this is like not going anywhere. I'm assuming under unless it's extreme circumstances, and what are the interaction points along the way. So it's fraught space. I've worked on a lot of games that have some variation of this mechanic. Like, here's a thing that's face up at the start of the game. I appreciate that there's a level of dynamicism to it. And in theory, you're kind of like pairing the, like, here's the stuff that I want for this particular matchup, plus whatever synergies I have going on. But I would bet the ones that are quote unquote too good quickly render the game like basically unplayable.
Yeah.
Little goes a long way.
Yep, with you like starting and play face up, being able to do it from turn 0. Yeah, hard to tune those knobs, but when it works, it's like so satisfying.
Yeah, I imagine the ones that are medium are quite fun and enrich the game, and you just have to have a very low tolerance for the ones that are not going to do that. And if they're banning some of them before they even hit street, it's like, okay, at least they kind of understand what they're working with a little bit.
Better that than saying, we promise in 2 sets, we're going to have the perfect answer.
We have an answer to this Infinity Dagger, 1 turn kill, draw my whole deck, convert it. Like,
just wait.
We have a card that says your opponent can only draw 12 cards a turn coming in 2 sets, so just give it a little bit of time.
It's called Floodgates, guys, right?
If you want to, you can tell, a pet peeve of mine is the do 1 and for each. Because I know what that fucking means. It's never that. Because why wouldn't you just say draw a card?
Deal 1, draw a card. Why not? Because we know we're going to fuck it up.
Why wouldn't you just deal 1, draw a card, right? Because it's the number 1. What other number could it be besides 0? Unless you wanted to make it so the number was sometimes 153 or what have you.
Just sometimes.
Banish a second graveyard, 1 for each. It's just, what are you gonna do?
Certain red flags that you can suss out.
If we could help ourselves, we would work in accounting or something. But because we can't, we have to take it out on other people, and that's how we become game designers.
I got blasted for 156, and so will you, goddammit.
Yeah. Check out this idea.
Well, Patrick, thank you so much again for hopping on and going through the ringer. You're only getting stronger and stronger as these evaluations go on.
Leveling up.
Resleevables, Unsleeved podcast, any other important things for the folks to know?
I will be, if you are looking to be, sorry, I'm like going straight into an Uber into the office. If you're looking to, play in the Ripbound Regional, if you signed up for that in Houston, I'll be in the house.
Hell yeah.
It'd be cool to meet people. And Resleevables, Unsleeved, we're trucking along. Invasion got out the door recently. So plane shift up next, and it's all good. And I appreciate your time. This is always really fun.
Hell yeah. Awesome. All right, well, don't miss your Uber, and we will be in touch, my friend. I appreciate you.